Welcome to Wine Soundtrack South Africa. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world. In 30 answers, discover their stories, personalities, and passions.
Hello, friends and listeners of Wine Soundtrack. This is Marieke, and today I'm joined by Anton Malan of Rainbow's End Wine Estate. Anton, a very warm welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks very much.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I grew up here as a kid on the farm. So my dad bought Rainbow's End in 1978. So when I was 1 year old, I grew up on our farm here, and we're in the mountains here. So very much I would classify myself as a farm boy. Love the nature, love the soils, love plants. So I think that's also maybe a bit of my personality. A lot of people say I'm a bit rough around the edges, but he's a good guy, natural guy at the end of the day. I've sometimes get away with that a little bit. Being as a winemaker, you get away with a lot of things. So that, so I would describe myself as a quite a natural person, maybe a bit rough around the edges, but so I was lucky enough to grow up here on the farm. Since I was one, so I was in school in Stellenbosch, primary and high school, and then afterwards I studied at Stellenbosch from 96 to 99, and then after that I went overseas in 2000 and worked there in France at a cellar. So I always had a passion for farming. I also like the people side of it, which a lot of people don't like. I really do love the people side on the farming side. So very passionate about wine and being a winemaker and about Rainbow's End and our family. So also very family orientated. Took me long to get married, so that maybe I don't know what that says about my personality, but would like to make the excuse that we worked so hard on the farm, didn't really have time and so on. But so I got married very late. Very close to my family and my son. And obviously and a Malan family. So we. My dad still lives here on the farm. My mom unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but so he's on the farm, and then my younger brother. So it's me and my younger brother on the farm, where I have more. They say I'm definitely much more emotional and a bit more not so level-headed than my brother. My brother is very much more level-headed and soft-spoken and not so emotional. So I would describe myself sometimes a little bit volatile, but I think I'm quite a good guy. Yeah.
I love that. So you and your brother actually complement each other in so many ways. Tell me, Rainbow's End, it's in this beautiful bowl that is also known as the Bangnook Valley. Tell me a little bit more about the location and where we're at.
Okay, so we are so blessed to live here. Long story short, it is a long story. I'm trying to keep it a bit shorter. My dad, he was an engineer his whole life, and my grandfather, when he was 32, I think, he just drove. He was living in Belleville. Ran his practice with my grandfather, and he just wanted to live on a farm and bring his kids up on a farm. That was when I was one, and then he drove out to Stellenbosch was his love and the place that he knew, and he wanted a farm near Stellenbosch, and then he went up in the Jonkershoek, looked at a small farm called Klein Gastro, because that is a beautiful valley, the Jonkershoek Valley, and then he went up Elswigte, and that was the end of the story, because when he drove up this pass, it was still the old Elswigte Pass. You're in this bowl of amazing mountains. Not to be arrogant, we're just blessed and lucky to live here, but I honestly believe I've been in a lot of places in the world, and I think this is definitely, when I was in London doing artworks and making wine in France, that was beautiful. And when I lived in London in 2000, I just realized even more that our privilege we are to live in this amazing. So we're surrounded. It's a northern-facing aspect farm, so we've got slopes going up to 600 meters above sea level, so we've got the highest lying slopes of most of the farms here in this valley. I think Asandel Air and Bartonese vineyards goes up the highest. Umberlo is definitely the highest lying vineyards. We're blessed with the mountains. You've got the Simonsberg mountain range, the Groot Drakenstein mountain range, and then you get the Bangnook Kloof, which if you ever come to our farm, in the tasting room, the new tasting room we've built, you look right into the Bangnook Kloof. And that's the Afrikaans word for scary corner, because there's still today, there's wild leopards still in this kloof. Some people even trace them in the vineyards. I know Tokara, they're a bit more fancy than us, so they've got the cameras and stuff, and they've traced it. But yeah, so the whole valley comes from this kloof, the Bango kloof, and that's because of the wild leopards. And we actually registered the ward ourselves. My father did it in 2005, so our origin is Stellenbosch, which everyone in the world knows, and obviously that is very valuable, and it's an easy thing to say wherever you are selling a wine in the world, because most people know where Stellenbosch is, and that is your mecca of your reds, Cabernet, and all that we work with. But the Bango ward, we saw this potential. My dad saw it also, its beauty, but not just the beauty of the valley. Also the fantastic soil types. Telima started in the late 80s. They showed that this is fantastic terroir. And then we registered that word Banghoek, which starts from Dale going down just before Boschendal, I think. So Telima, Dale, Tokara, Botany, Camberley, Oldenburg, Rainbows, and it's all in this Banghoek ward. And we're really lucky because we're right at the end of the valley, right in the corner. The highest lying farm called Rainbow's End. When my dad bought it from a guy called Jumbo van Reenen, he was a guy from the UK, and the last piece of land he sold was the Rainbow's End land that we were sitting now, is in the house he lived in actually. He owned all the land going from the Zevenrivier and turnoff, and the last piece of land he sold was this, and my dad was lucky to get that land. Yeah, it was also an interesting story. If you know, these days it has become now that a lot of top businessmen has also now become owners in the valley, which is great to get more people here and so on. But it's a nice story to tell that my dad bought this farm in 1978 for 90,000 rand, and my grandfather gave him the deposit for my dad. I think he was 33 or 34. And then the guy told my dad, you can pay him off as he want, interest free. So that was a nice story. And that's why we're so lucky to be here. We would never been able to be what you're paying now these days for land here. So we're lucky here. And then we just gradually developed the farm. There used to be a plum area, but up till the 90s, and then people started to plant vineyards. And we got the top horticulturists here, Tini de Pre, we've got the top viticulturists, the terroir guy, Eben Archer, and we sat here on the stoep and said, this is what are we going to do here? It's only 28 hectares. Myself and my younger brother are keen to make a living here with my dad. And then we started to plant the vineyards here. So a fantastic area for reds. Banghoek is the two most important varietals, I think, in the whole of the Banghoek Valley must be Cabernet Sauvignon and Chardonnay, but we very much focus, myself especially, focused on Cabernet Franc, and that's, I think, where the Rainbow's End people got to know our brand. But we started small. We've got a natural spring here that we do the cooling with, and it's a really special place. So we're still a boutique small farm, focusing just on reds, focusing on estate, very much that estate thing is for us is important. I know it's dying out a little bit because people that are not so fortunate to have a farm. Although there's a lot of problems having a farm, but people that's not that blessed, they source in grapes everywhere, which is fantastic. So you can source wherever you think for others. But on our farm, it's estate, and we take care of the grapes. So the consistency I think, is the important thing of being estate. So every guy that buys my wine, I have a relationship with the guy, but he also every year he knows he's going to get consistent quality. So I think I've spoken too much here, but so that's pretty much
Awesome. So tell me about yourself. When would you say you started to have an affinity for wine? You were explaining that your father and your grandfather, they had engineering backgrounds, but where did wine become something that has a place in your life? Okay,
so I've always, as a person, as a young kid, I had this love for the people on the farm, which I think is very important, because I think that's the biggest challenge, that everybody is happy. And I always had a love for the soil, walking around with my dad when he would part-time farm plums, so we were always out in the orchards. and I love plants and nature. That's my happy space. So I wasn't that much sort of, I want to be a winemaker or go into wine, but when I was first year university, I totally fell in love with wine for obvious reasons. We went on wine tours when we had to go to class. So yeah, I've probably fell in love when I was 18, 19, and I said I definitely want to be a winemaker. As a business model, my father advised his two sons that the one must do a viticultural degree, and the other one must do a business degree. I mustn't say unfortunately did the business. I did the business degree, finished the business degree, but after that I went into wine. But that was the whole business model from the farm, seeing that you need your engineering technical side, you need your business side, and also your viticultural side. But yeah, when I was busy with finishing my business degree, I fell into love from my first year. Definitely, I've good friends in the wine industry already at that time, and we went around from one farm to another and fell in love. I said that's what I want to do. If I can have the opportunity to do it, that's what I wanted to do. And when I went after I finished my studies, I went to France, worked there in a chateau called Chateau Bordeaux, just out of Saint-Emilion, and even more with that experience, I knew that's, even if the farm couldn't, because at that point we weren't sure we were able to make a living out of the farm. And while I was there, my dad said, okay, he's going to sell his practice, and then I knew. But even if that didn't work out, I know that's what I wanted to do.
And the hook was in. You were hooked and never looked back, I'm quite sure. Tell me, your wines. What is the most expensive wine that you make? What is it? What does it cost? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Okay, I never want to, when I do, I've done thousands of tastings in my life, so I always say, you know, the privileged thing on a farm is making your own wine and having your own vineyard. I'm with my brother, with the relationship that we take care of everything ourselves. The unfortunate thing is that you need to sell your own wine if it's your own business. So therefore, I would say 40% of my time in the year I spend in physically winemaking, which is my absolute passion and happy place. So I always can't understand when winemakers complain, oh, it's harvest time, and they're stressed out. I'm just so excited to get away from the business side, which is the selling side. So I would say 40% of the time I'm busy with the winemaking side, and my happiest time is the harvest time, always. I love it because it's never the same. That's also what I love about winemaking, that you work with nature, that's not X plus Y, Z. But to get to your question on my most expensive wine, I always do tastings without people looking at the prices, because I always like to get that objective thing. But getting back to that straight on what my most expensive wine is the Rainbows and Family Reserve, which is only 12 barrels that we make. So I make, in our estate wines, I make 160 barrels, where I bring it down to the best 12 barrels out of the vintage, excluding Shiraz in the blend. So it's always a Bordeaux blend. But it's physically try and make the best blend that vintage can give us. So it's not necessarily to be a right bank Merlot driven Bordeaux blend or left bank Cabernet. Most blends obviously in South Africa is Cabernet driven, but I get bring the best 12 barrels, individual barrels together, select them and then blend it. And sometimes there would not even be any Cabernet in the blend. But so what happened, it evolved since 2011, and we also said we're going to wait until we make the Family Reserve, because we said all the vineyards must be top quality, must be old enough. We always waited a little bit for the Merlot, because I think Merlot needs a bit of time of age, and you need to really figure that varietal out, which I think we definitely have done. So in 2011 we started with this Family Reserve. It used to be 9 barrels, it's now 12 barrels, it's only going to be 12 barrels. So that's why that's that exclusivity thing. And then I selected 12, I blend it up, that's after 9 months. I will be doing it now in the beginning of December, and then I blend it up and so that all the varietals can combine, and then I put it back for another year in French oak. It's all French oak, medium toast, tight grain barrels. But then I put it back just in Francois and a few Boots barrels. So that's my favorite barrels, the most expensive barrels. So the whole exercise is very expensive. So it is by far the most expensive wine to make, and we put it in very nice packaging, which for me it's not important, for some people it is. So so that's at the back of the bottle. You get the amount of bottles. It's always about around 3,500 bottles. Each bottle gets an individual number, and I would say that's why it's the most expensive one. I'm not saying that's necessarily the best one, because one is a subjective thing. I always love my Cab Franc, but that's why it's the most expensive, and that is what it is, the Family Reserve Bordeaux blend.
So, I know that you never ask a winemaker which is his favorite child. However, if you had to walk through your cellar right now, as things stand today, is there any of the wines, either in barrel or in tank or just in bottle, that is giving you so much pleasure, that that barrel or that tank, or that you can go to with a wine thief and just kind of go and take a little bit of a taster and go, oh, I get goosebumps?
Okay, that's a nice question. It's very simple to answer, because that's very easy for me to tell you. When I go into my barrel cellar, I always get out of a third full Francois barrel. That's where I think the wood is perfectly with. Where you have the fruit component, the grapes. Everything is about the grapes and the terroir and what you get out of your grape. And the clone is so important, because within a varietal, the clones have got such a massive impact on wines and the varietal. So in my barrels, 90% of the time, I get most goosebumps out of a third full Francois barrel with a Cabernet Franc clone 214 in it, and that just gives me that ultimate Cab Franc. I wish I could only bottle that one barrel, but I don't would probably made it 5,000 rand a bottle. But that is always gives me goosebumps. And what also gives me another thing is tasting great Merlot out of a barrel, because there is so few great Merlots in South Africa. And not to be arrogant, I really believe our Merlot is great. And I think I do so much effort with the Merlot, because I pick it's the highest lying vineyard. We do so much effort with the sorting the grapes. There's no stems or green character in the wine. It's picked ripe enough, but not overripe to have the jammy, not too green. That's the problem with Merlot. And the other problem with Merlot is that your barrel structure, so we drain a lot of juice. So the most effort and the biggest challenge definitely of the winemaking season is Merlot, by far. So it always gives me a kick to see, here's my 30 barrels Merlot, all good. And the best ones, I also would say Francois third full, all boots third full. Those are, I love a wine out of a third full. So I would say those two things is
nice. It's very clear. You clearly know exactly what it is that gives you those goosebumps, which is awesome. On a bad day, you know exactly where to go to get that lift that you need. Do you believe in a perfect variety?
Look, when we started the terroir planning, and the whole mission was we planted the 5 border varieties, mainly Cabernet, Merlot, Cab Franc. Now Cab Franc is the mostly planted varietal, weirdly enough, because I'm so focused and we're focused on that. So the whole mission was to make an ultimate Bordeaux blend, which is now the Family Reserve. So at that point I felt, no, there's not an ultimate varietal. That's what you've asked. So and now lately I'm also getting so passionate about Merlot, so it's difficult to answer that question, but I would answer it and say, Cabernet Franc for me is the ultimate varietal on this farm. There's a lot of discussions. I mean, the big player, Brevard, I know he's the big Cab Franc guy. He started in 2000 being focused Cab Franc Shannon. 2005 when I started making Cab Franc, there was Warwick, there was Raats, High Constantia. And I think that, and then us. So I've done it now for, 18 years, and we've done it very successfully. And it's a fantastic. I just love the varietal on our farm, because it's in the vineyard. It's a very easy vineyard to grow. The shoots are always very straight up. You always get a balanced crop. You don't need to interfere a lot in your vineyard. we've never had a bad Cab Franc vintage since we started in 2005. And then it's also so interesting now, the clones differ. So we've got our Cabernet Franc limited release, which is a 312 Bordeaux clone, which gives red fruit. It's totally uncommon to Cab Franc. People don't know it, because I don't think they've made the trials on it. That you can actually have red. And I've got so many people to drink Cabernet Franc by giving that style of Cab Franc, because I made it separately from 2007, this specific Bordeaux clone, and made them passionate about Cab Franc, and that gives me a kick. I mean, to get people to drink something that they think it must be like this. And I don't. So there's a very stigma that Cab Franc is grassy, green, vegetative. It's not like that. Definitely not in South Africa. Also not on our farm. If you look at the Loire Cab Francs, which I do like the green, fresh, mineralic, quite acidic style of Cab Franc as well. I do prefer the style that I make, but that's what the farmer terroir gives you. It's not what I make. But I would say I really think it's an ultimate varietal, because we've never had touchwood, never had a bad one. We always had every vintage was great. Every clone has got such a, like I said, different character and style. If you look at the clone 1, the South African clone, which gives that dark cherry earthy character, and if you look at the 214, the Loire clone, which gives the fresh, slight vegetative character, but not much. And I make it in a style that it's also a wine that is, you don't need too much new oak on it. It's less new oak than Cabernet Sauvignon, in my opinion. 30% new oak, I think, is enough on Cab Franc, while Cabernet you might need more, which is nice. The bank manager is a bit more happier. But yeah, I think it's also a wine that you can bottle it after 12 months in oak. You don't need more time in the oak, in my opinion, and you can release it after a year in bottle, and you can drink it. We're now selling our 21 Cab Francs, and it's drinking beautifully, and it's soft and it's accessible, but it's also a wine that you can keep for 20 years plus. So you've got that luxury that you can drink it young, but you can also keep it longer long in your cellar. And I don't think what other red varietals you can really do that. I mean, what red varietal can you drink as a 21, which is lovely, but you can also keep it 15 years in your cellar. So I think that's great. And it's a fantastic wine to sell. That selling sometimes, like I said, the winemaking is a nice part. The selling is sometimes not so nice, but I always love to sell my Cab Franc, and it's also a wine that chefs like. The foodies love it. If you go to a restaurant, I've started selling my wine to the top restaurants in the Cape. That's how I started selling our brand, and I went to, and those days, Cab Franc there was basically nothing. It was just a few, and they were interested in Cab Franc, and always the chefs and the foodies always liked it, and they always want one on a wine list, and mine was better priced than other top players, so it was always an easy wine to sell. And I must say now it's a different ball game. I mean, we've got it's a varietal that's growing a lot, which I always love a varietal to grow. I always love more competition that keeps you on your toes, but you want to. Now I think there's definitely over 50 single Cab Francs in South Africa, where there used to be 3 or 4 in 2005 when I started. So it's a varietal that's growing, and I must really say, unlike other varietals, maybe like where Merlot is a difficult one, Pinot Noir you can only do in certain areas, but Cab Franc, most out of there is really, really good. So yeah, if you want a perfect varietal, that's the one I'll definitely select.
There's definitely a lot of passion around that variety for you. It's very tangible. Anton, do you have a hangover cure?
It depends on what your age is. I mean, when I was younger, I could drink obviously much more. I'm now 46, so definitely the hangovers is getting worse the older you get, just to answer that. But I mean, obviously, the hangover cure, you must drink proper wine. So if you drink average quality wine that's over sulfate, your hangovers is going to be more. It's not really whether it's a 13.5 or 15% alcohol bottle of wine. It's about the sulfur levels. So I think if you select good wines, your hangovers will be less. But yeah, still, if you have too much, the hangovers will be there. So what I would say is 2 things. if you need to work that morning, so try and avoid it in the week. To drink you can't do what you did when you were still young. But if you have the hangover, I would say a nice sunny side, soft, I call it the winner normal egg. That helps. Or start with more wine if it's a Saturday or Sunday. That will take it. That will take the thing away. But yeah, take care of yourself. You need to drink water, more water. Well, when you're drinking a lot of wine. But yeah, drink good quality wine, and you shouldn't have that lot of anger and eat.
So prevention is better than the cure, is what I'm hearing from you now. When you're not working, what do you do in your spare time?
Yes, we work the whole time. I love sport. I love the ball. I love tennis. I love golf. Those are my interests in sport. I'm not a big fisherman, but I like to go out. I love the sea, so I like to go to the sea. I love the ocean, so that's always another happy place for me. But yeah, if I have time, I'm still a member at Stellenbosch Golf Club, so I love playing golf. That's the thing I'm really also very passionate about, playing golf. And it's also it is also wine related. There's a lot of relationships people that like wine, they normally like golf as well, so you can share things there. But I switch off on a golf course, I must say. I never switch off from work, so but I can switch off on a golf course now.
That's so important. Or on a boat on the sea, yes. I must say it's important having that outlet, that one place where you can just actually switch off and forget and recalibrate in a way. So yeah, it's very cool. Is music an interest of yours? And if so, what kind of genres, what kind of music are you into? Yeah.
Unfortunately, I would love to play proper guitar and could sing. I would really love that, but probably a good thing I'm not, because I would have then probably did it too much, and maybe my dad loves also music, but luckily we can't sing, and so I'm not very good myself. But I really like the 80s. I like the 80s music, U2, Pink Floyd, those type of stuff. Queen. So, but I'm not a big myself. I'm not talented in the music at all. No.
And what about a romantic evening? If you take out your wife for dinner, what would she enjoy drinking? What would you order for her?
Okay, we like to really sit here at home. Of course, we're very busy. Both she's also a writer, so she's a lot also out and about. Not so much now anymore with our son, but so she went out a lot to restaurants and did writing and so on. So we're not that keen on going so much out on restaurants, although she loves it still. I also like it, but I like to go to places where, and I think that the romantic thing comes in along, that you don't, well, for one, you don't have to make your own food, because my wife loves making food, so she's quite a food critic, and she really appreciates good food. I enjoy food, but I'm definitely not nearly a cook like she is. So we like to go out firstly to places that we can't make it ourselves. So I would not go to a place that makes great steak or so that I think we can do that. And my wife does a lot of good things, but what we don't do is we can't make proper sushi, and we're not able to get good seafood. So those are two, I think, cuisines that we really like. Maybe we'd love to go to Fine, actually. It's a restaurant that we really said we want to go out, because those are the type of things we like. So the romantic thing so we go to Stellenbosch, we go to a little place called Genki, that we love that. So we always go to the same place. We maybe not that romantic and looking for beautiful settings, but we like Genki and going there. And wine I would order first. She refuses to drink white. I do drink a lot of white as well, like Chardonnay and Shiraz. So I normally order things that I don't have the opportunity to be involved with. But she always orders red, and she likes. I'm fortunate enough that she very much like our wine, so she's lucky that we don't But yeah, she likes a good. What we don't have here is we don't have Pinot Noir, so she does like a very nice Pinot. That would be a treat for her to buy her, to give her a good glass of Pinot Noir and some food that she cannot make, which is there's not a lot, but seafood and sushi. That's two things that she loves. Yeah.
Nice, with a nice glass of Pinot Noir. I think it's a perfect combination. If you could share a bottle of wine with anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would you sit down with, and which bottle of wine would you choose to share?
Sure, that's a nice question. Which one from our own vineyard?
Any wine.
Any
from
wine.
Anywhere in the world.
Sure. I actually think the best vintage the nicest Cab Franc that we've ever made was the Cab Franc 2012 up to date, in my opinion. So that's a wine that's now on optimum drinking. So I would love to share that bottle with another winemaker, maybe from the Loire, with one of their top Cab Francs. But it's difficult. Who to share it with? Which person in the world? I must think a little bit of this question. And where would it be? You say?
No. Just the person and the wine. We can come back to that if you want.
I would like. It would be nice to sit with Brevaros, Duncan Savage, these guys, because I've never really sat down with them in a social, because they're really fantastic winemakers, and what they do as individual guys. It would be interesting to relax with them in a social gathering and share some of their great wines at a place. From a personal perspective, I would choose two people. I would choose anything else, which sounds very boring, and that. But I'm such a golf fanatic, and he loves wine. Mm-hmm. Maybe sit in his house in Harrodsby and talk about golf and wine, and that would be one person. The other person would be. I'm now talking about my sport fans, which is probably not, but Mats Wilander, the Swedish tennis player. I love that guy and his mentality, and I think to pick his brains with wine, and I also know he loves wine, and to hear his mental and his whole life story, that I've got this fascination with that person. So I would love to. It's weird answers, but that's I would say Mats Wilander. Probably Mats Wilander, and then there's a golfer called Mark McNulty, which most people probably don't know who he is, but he was a childhood hero of mine, and he also enjoys wine, and I think that's it. That's and then maybe
that's.
I'd love to go with my wife in Italy and sit there somewhere with that Cab Franc 2012. That we still want to do that. But the person, I would say Mats Wilander. Any else? Mark McNulty, which is weird.
Not at all.
Maybe sit in St Andrews there on the Swilkenburn and share a bottle of wine with one of those guys.
And shoot the breeze. Shoot the breeze. Do you think we'll still be drinking wine in 2,000 years' time?
Yes, if the world's still going. Yeah, no, that's definitely. If the world is still alive, we'll definitely still drink wine. Yeah.
It's not going anywhere soon. Is there a winemaking area anywhere in the world that you'd still like to explore?
Look, when I came back from overseas in 2000 from France, there's a lot of. I want to go back there because at that point I didn't have I was still a young guy. I would like to go back to those areas where I worked in Saint-Emilion. Would like to go back to Provence, up there in the Rhone. But Italy, I've never been to Italy, to the vineyard. I would love to go to Italy. It's just to explore that, go to Tuscany. And also go to Argentina, Chile. I think I'm more fascinated with the traditional European countries like France, Italy, also maybe Portugal, which I think is a sort of country that's not been talking, Spain as well. So it would be those countries, and then Chile and Argentina. I'm not so much interested in, not to be rude, but I'm not interested in any American wine region or Australian or New Zealand. I want those traditional countries, and then South America for some reason. I've got a fascination for that. I think they do great stuff. They've got good Malbecs there. They've even got, I've tasted some fantastic Cabernet Francs from Argentina when I was in Peru. Obviously wanted to go to the Loire Valley would be amazing there yeah.
Super. So we're just about done. Before we finish, I want to play a game with you. So I'm going to name 3 varietals, and I would like you to pair each of them with music. So either a specific song, or an artist, or even a genre that you feel represents that grape variety or style. And really, first thing that pops up in your mind that you just think, you know, this pairs with that because it's funky or whatever the case may be. So I'm going to start with Cabernet Franc, simply because I have to. It would be wrong not to, right?
What song I would pair with that?
Or music, artist, or genre?
Just give me time to think a little bit, yeah. Sure. I think Cabernet, look, when I started walking the vineyards, my brother's on the farm the whole time, and he's more out there. So when I'm not making wine and winemaking practices throughout the year, I mostly go out and sell wine everywhere around to my customers. So we're small. I still do that myself. So we don't have a distributor or anything. So I do it myself. And now with the tasting room, it obviously helps a lot too. But that amazing, happy place when I go into a Cabernet Franc in one of our vineyards when it's end of January, start going in there, check the veraison out. See that the crop balance is good and the final fine tuning, and then just living with that vineyard. I always go in there and it's on this northern facing slope, look right, also very high up on the backs of the Jongershoek Mountain, looking down on the Bannock Valley. And it's so beautiful. So it's a beautiful day. I would say you too, beautiful day with my Cab Franc. That's my favorite song. I go ballistic on that song. Yes. When I have maybe a little too much, but so that would be the song for my Cab Franc, beautiful day.
Beautiful day, you two. Very, very good choice. I like that very much. Okay, next one. Let's go with a Merlot.
I think it used to be up till 2007, but not anymore. So this is a song I would have paired with it. Because it's such a difficult varietal. So it took us up till 2007 when the vineyards got a bit older. Learned a few tricks in the winemaking, draining juices to get better structure, make sure that you work with the right clones, the French clones. So it was a bit of a disappointment up till 2007 until we got it right. So I'm going to compare it, and I think a lot of Merlots, I'm not a very good. I know the Merlots, it's getting better and better and better in South Africa, and it's going to grow, and it from where we now until going back 10 years ago, we've made massive leaps, and there's brilliant Merlots out here in certain cooler climates like Elgin, for instance. So, but it's still a challenge. So I would say Merlot, I would say Pink Ford, I wish you were here. We just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl year after year. I think a lot of people still have that problem with Merlot, but that's a thing of the past. But I like that song with Merlot. Okay.
I like that. I can see the thinking behind that selection. Let's go white.
And then you can now say, take it to shine on you, crazy diamond. Also the Pink Ford, because we now got it right. So it's just shining, rough diamond. Crazy diamond, yeah.
Crazy diamond. Awesome. I'm going to move on to your white. Let's go with Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay, I only do red. So I don't like any white wine. I've got a Cabernet Franc Blanc de Noir that we've done since 2021. It used to be a Cabernet Franc Rosé. It's a lower lying vineyard, so we never it was a clone 312, and we never wanted to make add it to the Cabernet Franc limited release, the highest lying single vineyard Bordeaux clone. I didn't want to take a chance ever to make any negative to that quality, and we just felt that vineyard was a bit just too low lying to put in the reds. So then I started to make a Cab Franc Rosé, which looks like a bit like a white wine because it's got it's virtually zero. So we destem, crush destem, and we direct into a press. We virtually do zero pressing. So it's basically free round juice, which looks like it's a bottle in front of us here. It looks a bit like a white wine, and that was 2021 I started that, and 22, and it's a very successful product, drinks fantastically in our tasting room, and then in 23 I couldn't get it approved as a rosé, and I asked Savers why, and they said it was the colour still out, but said the colour of the previous year was exactly the same, and they said I was lucky the previous year. So it's now Cab Franc Blanc de Noir. So it's not a white, but that's the closest I make to a white.
I am going to stop you though, because I still want to know what your music pairing is with Sauvignon Blanc, irrespective of whether you make it or not.
Again, I'm always very. That's one of the attributes which is positive and negative. Now you ask me about my personality, and I'm too shy to talk about myself. Now things are we talking. I'm always very straight to the point and honest. So, to my positive and negative, people like it, or it sometimes may be too straight. But I don't really like Sauvignon Blanc, so it's. I love Shiraz, I love Chardonnays. I like the more riper style of Sauvignon Blanc. So that green, the acidities for me is a bit sometimes too much, but that's just me personally. I mean, there's beautiful Sauvignon Blancs out there, and I'm definitely not saying that the varietal was the biggest growing white varietal maybe up till a few years ago, with Chenin now growing so much. But on the Sauvignon Blanc, maybe Green Day. Who's saying that? That was
that Green Day is Green Day.
That's Green Day. That's a band. Yes. Yeah, it's a band. So
that's good. I like that Green Day. Green Day. Green Day it is. Anton, thank you so much for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure chatting to you. Would you be so kind as to remind our listeners where they can find information of Rainbow's End online, on social media, and then we can sign off?
Okay, so you can find more information on our farms obviously from our website, and we're not very big on our social media platforms, but we are now with the new tasting. Because we were so small and we did everything ourselves, we never really had time to do really intensive social media, but we need to get it more done, and we are now relatively active on our Instagram. So the Rainbows End Instagram, Rainbows End Wine. You can look at our Instagram. We've got fantastic videos and photos that we've posted there over the last few years, which you can really get a feeling of Rainbows and the absolute beauty of the farm. So it's the wines I believe is very good quality, consistent, very well priced, definitely. But yeah, the beauty of the farm is we're so lucky. I think it's one of the most beautiful farms in South Africa, definitely. So on that Instagram you can get a feeling of it a little bit. We used to have a terrible bad road up for the last 45 years, and 2 months ago we've now fixed the road with paving between Oldenburg and ourselves, so you can get up here very easily. So get here and you get the best feeling of Rainbow's End. But yeah, then on the social media, Instagram, and then we a little bit on Facebook, but not so much. But Instagram, website, come and visit us, or phone us, or email us. It's me, myself, Jana, and Chantel that's also now joined us. Between me and then Fennel, our tasting room manager. My brother is very busy on the farm, so he doesn't have so much time to communicate on emails, but he will also get back to you whenever he can. So I think those are the plans, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me here. And yes, I can definitely echo what Anton's been saying. It really is spectacularly beautiful out here. So if you do find yourself in Stellenbosch in the near future, do make a turn. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack South Africa. For details and updates, visit our website winesoundtrack.com.